The phone buzzed in Mark Reyes's hand at exactly 6:42 a.m., right when he was balancing a coffee mug on one knee and tying his 8-year-old daughter's shoelaces with the other. He glanced at the screen, smirked, typed fast, and hit send without thinking. 2 seconds later, the smirk vanished. His stomach dropped. His heart stuttered. Because the message that said, "Bro, my boss is so hot it should be illegal," hadn't gone to his buddy Alex. It had gone to her. Mark froze, shoelace dangling, coffee sloshing dangerously close to disaster. His daughter, Lily, looked up at him with wide eyes. "Dad? Did you forget how to breathe again?" He hadn't forgotten. He just couldn't. For a long moment, the world shrank to the glowing rectangle in his hand. He stared at the name on the screen, Elena Carter *, his boss, his landlord's daughter, the woman who unknowingly made his mornings harder and his self-control a daily workout. The woman who had hired him 6 months ago when he desperately needed a job and didn't ask awkward questions about why a 35-year-old man was rebuilding his life from scratch. The typing bubble appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Mark swallowed so hard his throat hurt. By the time Mark dropped Lily off at school, he had convinced himself of 3 things. 1. He was definitely fired. 2. He might need to move cities. 3. He would never emotionally recover from this. He sat in his car for a full 5 minutes afterward, forehead resting against the steering wheel, replaying every interaction he'd ever had with Elena. Her calm confidence. Her sharp suits. The way she laughed with her whole face when something genuinely amused her. The way she treated him not like the single dad hire, but like someone competent, valuable, and now she thought he was a creep. The phone buzzed again, Elena Carter, "We need to talk." When you get an asterisk, that was it. No emoji. No punctuation that could soften the blow. Just professional doom. Mark drove to the office in silence, rehearsing apologies that sounded pathetic even in his own head. "I swear I respect you. It was a joke. I'm an idiot, but a hardworking idiot." None of it felt enough. When he walked into the office, Elena was already there, standing by the window of her glass-walled office, coffee in hand. She turned when she heard his footsteps. "Mark," she said, evenly. "Close the door." He did. Elena didn't sit. Neither did he. The silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Finally, she held up her phone. "Care to explain this?" Mark took a breath so deep it felt like it scraped his lungs. "First of all, I am so sorry. That message was not meant for you. I would never, I didn't mean to. I respect you a lot. Professionally. Obviously. And personally, not personally." He stopped himself, face burning. "I'm digging a hole." To his surprise, Elena didn't look angry. She looked amused. And a little nervous. "I figured it wasn't meant for me," she said. "But it did raise some questions." Mark nodded miserably. "I understand if this crosses a line. If you want to fire me, I'll accept it. Please know that this job means everything to me. I'm trying to give my daughter some stability. I messed up. Big time." That seemed to shift something. Elena's expression softened. She set her phone down. "I'm not firing you." Mark blinked. "You're not?" "No," she said. "But I do think honesty is overdue." She gestured for him to sit. He did, hands clasped tightly together. Elena, she continued, the boss version of me needs to be clear. Workplace boundaries matter. That message crossed one. Accidentally or not. I know, Mark said quickly. It won't happen again. I believe you, she said. Then, after a pause, but the woman version of me also has something to admit. Mark's heart started pounding again, but for a very different reason. I've noticed you too, she said quietly. And I've kept it professional because you're my employee and because you're a single dad and because life is complicated enough as it is. Mark stared at her, stunned, but, she continued, your message, embarrassing as it was, forced the truth into the open. So here we are. The room felt suddenly smaller. Warmer. I don't want to make things awkward, Elena said. And I won't put you in a position where you feel pressured. If we move past this like it never happened, we can. Mark swallowed. And if we don't? She met his eyes. Then we do this the right way. Slowly. With respect. And with clear boundaries. For the first time all morning, Mark smiled. Mark's life hadn't always been this way. Early mornings, packed lunches, bedtime stories whispered through exhaustion. Once, he'd had a two-income household and shared dreams. Then his wife got sick. Then she was gone. And suddenly Mark was both parents, learning how to braid hair while grieving in private so his daughter wouldn't feel scared. Dating had felt impossible. Not because he didn't want companionship, but because he didn't want to invite chaos into Lily's life. Work was survival. Parenting was purpose. Romance was a locked door he didn't dare knock on. Elena complicated that. They didn't jump into anything. For weeks, they stayed professional at the office. But after hours, they talked. Coffee turned into long walks. Long walks turned into honest conversations about loss, pressure, and the quiet fear of never being enough. Elena confessed that being the boss came with loneliness. Everyone assumed she had it all figured out. No one saw the pressure of carrying a company started by her late father, or the night she ate dinner alone in silence. Mark shared stories about Lily, how she hated math but loved drawing, how she still slept with a nightlight because monsters respect light. Elena listened like it mattered. Because it did. The biggest challenge wasn't attraction. It was timing. Mark worried about Lily. Elena worried about the office. Both worried about getting hurt. The turning point came on a rainy Thursday when Lily's school called. Mark had a presentation that afternoon, one Elena had been prepping him for all week. Lily had a fever and needed to be picked up immediately. Mark stood frozen in the hallway, phone pressed to his ear, panic rising. Elena noticed. Go, she said before he even explained. I've got the presentation. I can't just, you can, she said firmly. You're a dad first. That's not a flaw. That's your strength. Something in Mark cracked open then. Gratitude. Relief. Something deeper. That night, after Lily fell asleep on the couch, Mark texted Elena thank you. For seeing me she replied almost instantly always when Mark finally introduced Elena to Lily, it wasn't flashy. No big announcement. Just pizza night and board games. Lily studied Elena carefully, then asked bluntly, are you my dad's boss? Elena laughed. Yes. And his friend? I hope so. Lily nodded, satisfied. Okay. Just don't take him away from bedtime stories. I wouldn't dare, Elena said. That was the moment Mark knew the message that almost ruined everything had done the opposite. It forced honesty. It broke fear's grip. It reminded him that mistakes don't always end stories, sometimes they begin them. Months later, Mark would still cringe when he thought about that text. But he'd also smile. Because out of embarrassment came courage. Out of fear came connection. And out of one wrong send came a life that finally felt right. The lesson stayed with him. Life doesn't wait until you're ready. Love doesn't ask permission. And sometimes, the scariest moments are the ones that lead you exactly where you're meant to be.